Hey there, it is Faith Talk Live. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
Hey, it's always great to catch up with Pastor Tom Gray at Mars Hill Community Church. And if I could speak, I'd be in broadcasting. Pastor, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great, Rick. It's always a huge joy and pleasure to be with you two guys.
Now, if you're watching Facebook Live or YouTube Live, that is Pastor Tom's office there. And
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right. We talked about how it's churchly decorated, I guess. Well, you got Jesus holding up on your right. You got Jesus holding somebody up.
Yeah.
On the left, looks like General Washington.
Yeah,
that's right. Praying. Famous Valley Forge. We got
Yeah.
Stonewall Jackson praying there.
Oh,
as
Stonewall.
Well.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
And if I didn't have my phone camera set, I would give you a tour of the rest of the office. And one of the coolest things I own on the other wall is in a big frame is a big American flag. And it's sentimental to me because it hung in the classroom of my mother's first ever year teaching, a fourth grade classroom in upstate New York.
Wow.
And it is a 48-star flag. So,
No.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that wild? Yeah. So
cool.
she, I know. So she taught before, obviously, Hawaii and Alaska became states. But I got to tell you guys, so you're commenting on my churchiness here.
Yeah.
So my grandfather was a pastor, and I grew up in church and grew up close to different pastors in the churches. My dad was in the Army, so we moved a bunch of places. So the different pastors at different churches, but the church where I went to high school, I was very close to my pastor there. And every now and then people along the way would say, oh, maybe you'll be a pastor when you get older. And that was a repulsive
How dare you say that about me?
Exactly. I was like, oh, because I was a classic, probably, outdoorsy ruffian sports kind of boy. And I didn't love classrooms and books and studies. And to me, my imagery when somebody would always say, maybe the pastor, was how horrible of a life sentence to have to live out your life in a place like this. Where my image of a pastor was you're in some office with books everywhere. I was like, oh, what could be worse, right?
Yeah.
But now I'm like, oh, it's awesome. I love it. So anyway, yeah, the church. I embrace my inner churchy office.
Isn't it funny how God does that? Changes your heart.
Yeah,
really
which leads me to this. It's a perfect segue. We were talking about, you guys are doing some amazing things, always doing amazing things. But in the summer, you've got a VBS where the old style VBS. And I got to be honest with you, I was not raised in church, but there were a few years when I was younger, and I don't remember the age, but somebody got me to VBS, and it really made an impression on me. Years later, I responded to that seed, but it's awesome. But the tide has changed or just the way we do VBS these days. The old school was, hey, you invite them in to where you are. You guys are doing it the other way and going out to get them.
And we're excited to get to do that. We did this for a few years in a row before COVID shut everything down. This is our first year back doing it, and we love doing it this way. Obviously, there's value in getting people from the community to your campus where your church meets, but we really want to emphasize the sense that we as the church are supposed to be going to where people are and connecting where they live and in our neighborhoods and all of that. So we've got 9 different neighborhoods in our general vicinity where people in our church live. They're serving as the host homes, and we've got well-trained adults and students. It's kind of like for our youth group, it's like a local mission trip, and they live at the church all week. They sleep down in the student room in one of the other rooms, the boys one section, the girls another, and the church doesn't smell good for about a week after, especially where the boys are. But we feed them here, and then they go out to these 9 homes, and conduct. The curriculum is obviously relatively simple to other kind of VBS types of things, but it's high activity, engagement, sharing the gospel, teaching about the Lord. And to your point, Rick, I know so many people whose testimonies includes a high impact that God had on them early through something like a VBS. But we love that aspect of doing it out in the community. And of course, we finished the week with a big rally here at the church on Thursday night. We invite all the families and kids to come and do a bunch of fun stuff here and try to obviously try to build a bridge to Mars Hill and
Yeah.
for them to get connected here.
So good.
What
Yeah.
kind of reaction have you seen from the kids' families, especially? Because this is probably kind of different for them. They're like, wait, I don't take my kid to the church. It's going to be like just down the street from me. What kind of a reaction have you gotten?
I guess overall, highly positive and grateful. Like, oh wow, you're doing this. That people feel like you're going an extra mile to serve them, and seem to very much appreciate that. So yeah, and it's a little bit different, maybe too. And I think people appreciate the creativity and the heart behind doing something a little different.
Yeah, definitely.
Pastor Tom Gray of Mars Hill Community Church, Powder Springs there. We love talking to Pastor Tom. I do want to talk about the DR trip, which is coming up. And you haven't been able to do that for a few years. But I was thinking about the times that we live in here lately. We've got, we're in Ukraine, and it seems to be kind of a proxy war of sorts. But it is causing problems here in the U.S. as far as financial, the economy. That's just one piece of the puzzle. We've got a recession that's coming here, or we're kind of stepping into it. What are you sharing with the folks around you in the congregation, in the community? What are you saying to them to keep them? Because for some people, I mean, I'm older, I've seen these before. But for some people, this is their first rodeo, and they may not know how to handle it.
Yeah, and I think that, and thanks for asking that question, because what we do say to each other as believers, followers of Christ, what we say to each other in our church, in whatever role, especially from a pastor to people in the church too, is very important right now, because we are in a distressed season. It's stressful. It's anxiety inducing, it's fear creating, and we need to speak truth, and we need to remind ourselves that God really hasn't lost control. He hasn't forgotten about us. He knows what's going on, and we can trust him. And whether our portfolios are surging or shrinking, it's still, our lives are day by day call to follow Jesus and trust him, and he's trustworthy. And so I think the reminders, what we say to our people are, we're going to keep moving forward. And some of the things you mentioned, we need to keep moving forward. We never, we don't need to be, one of the worst things we can do is make decisions based on fear. However, we want to keep moving forward, but that doesn't mean, and to your point, where's the balance of making decisions wisely in light of the economic situation, for example, or whatever other world circumstances? We're going to do that, but we're not going to function out of fear. We're not going to shrivel and shrink. We know that we ask him, as Jesus taught us to provide each day our daily bread. We know he's our source of survival and security. So we got to, in these kind of times where it's very tempting to go, oh no, I can barely afford to put groceries on the table, or it's looking like it's getting harder and harder to afford to put groceries on the table. We can barely fill the car with gas. What's going on, political stability or instability, hostility. And of course, in something like traveling to a foreign country for a mission trip, we do take that into consideration. But we feel like, at least at this point for us, where the right decision is to keep pressing forward, keep saying to people, look, the basic dynamics haven't changed. We're trusting God each day for our daily bread. We're going to give to his work out of our means, whatever means he has supplied us. We're going to trust him boldly, and we're going to give boldly, generously, not only financially, but in our time and energy. So unless it gets to a point where it's obviously God saying, you don't need to be trying to galvanize and mobilize teams to go overseas, then we're going to press forward, praying, trusting, and taking these steps of faith and obedience, realizing, and Rick, to your point, those that have been around different downturns, recessions, whatever, God's faithful, God's trustworthy, and that God moves maybe even more powerfully, not in spite of the struggles of the times, but because of. I mean, it does something deep for our faith to step out and trust him when it feels more scary to us. So we're going, and it's hard. It's interesting because obviously that The airplane tickets are ridiculously expensive. I mean, the cost of what each mission trip participant's going to have to raise is more than we've ever had to do in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So those are factors, but they're not stop sign factors.
Yeah.
They're not don't go factors. So for us at this point, so that I don't know, the words of encouragement, the words of inspiration, the words of keep going, keep boldly trusting and following Jesus. They're more powerful even in these kinds of times, I think.
That's good.
Talk real quick about the work you guys are going to be doing down in the Dominican Republic when you go. I believe September 27th is when you guys are leaving. What are you going to do down there?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So we've got actually 3 partners on the ground there. We like to work in conjunction with people there. You know, we don't want to go and just be these foreigners who come in and we're here to save the day kind of a thing. We want to go in a support role. Yeah, so we go to serve legitimately, and our partners in this case, there in the DR are FCA, which they do a ton of evangelism and discipleship through sports and through coaches. So we've got some discipleship training we're going to be able to support them with a large focus on some of their female coaches. So we're taking some ladies down who can really do some coaching of their own, some discipleship training for female coaches. We also have a partnership with a boys and girls. It's not a home, but it's like an after school program. And so we've got some projects we're going to do that will help them enhance their ministries. And then we've got a partnership with a girls' orphanage in the same area. And we're kind of waiting to hear back from them on what things would benefit them from us coming to serve them that week. So that's what we'll be doing. It's very exciting. Yeah, it's going to be great.
Awesome.
Cool.
Pastor Tom Gray, Mars Hill Community Church, Powder Springs, marshillcc.com. Tom, always great to talk to you. Let's catch up in a few months, and we'll just kind of find out how it went in the DR and what your messages are coming up in the fall. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
This is Faith Talk Live.